Yes, no problem. You can help me here because I want to know why Chris Kirchner has reportedly withdrawn. Well, it's now been confirmed. He's withdrawn his bid to buy Derby County.
Yep.
And this is a guy you've spoken to, I've spoken to. You spoke to him on more occasions than me. So can we dip into that? Did he always give you the impression he was a real deal? And have you and I and everybody else been duped?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when we talk about these things, we're not the ones doing the deal. So you have to take at face value what people tell you. And if you're asking the people of influence, then you take them at face value. Whether you're asking previous owners, whether you're asking the EFL, whether you're asking the administrators, who else can you ask? It's not my cheque, but it's writing the cheque. So you take people at face value. He's got the money. He's proved up to the EFL, so he's got the means to do it. I'm trying to work backwards as to the reasons why he won't do it. Now, I should always follow my gut instincts, and I tend to sometimes get a little bit swayed by other people's thinking, because when I watched him on the golf course last week and he wouldn't talk to anybody, I thought to myself at the time, he's not going to do this deal. And then I talked myself into the fact he would do it because he's committed into a deal. Why would he have carried on the way he's carried on, and why would he want to put a non-refundable deposit down of about £2 million?
So which he has.
Which he has.
He's lost it, right?
Derby fans are pontificating on the fact that he hasn't. He has put a deposit down, or someone in a significant position of influence is not telling the truth, and there's no reason not to be.
Non-refundable.
So you look at it and say, you set it up at the beginning of saying buyer's regret. And I think that's a key terminology, because if you look at Chris Kirchner, Goldman Sachs have got about 60 million quid invested in the business that he owns at a certain multiple, which means at a multiple of about probably 6, his business is worth about 300 or 400 million quid. So this man has got the means, both now and in the future. I think there's an element of potentially walking up to the finishing line, and all deals that are not done until the completion is done. So there was always this situation where you can walk up to... I nearly walked away from Palace when I was at the completion stage, because you suddenly get this situation where you're confronted with the reality of certain aspects and you go, why am I doing this? And I wonder...
What is that, buyer's regret? Cold feet?
Buyer's regret, yeah. And I wonder if people that are potentially invested in other businesses that he's got are sitting there going to him, why in God's name would you be doing this? Why in God's name would you be doing this? I understand why he perhaps didn't want to talk to people on the golf course last week, because he's got several people there that are investors in businesses and businesses that he does deals with, and he's sponsored various golf tours for some time, and perhaps he didn't want to be distracted talking about football whilst there are people that he's doing business with on the golf course.
But he's a self-made man. Why would he be swayed at this stage?
Well, he's a self-made... Well, to a point... Because ultimately, if you've got people like Goldman Sachs, who are a very, very heavyweight investment bank, giving money into an investment, into a structure that you've got, which is your logistics business, and they're starting to look at their investment, saying, hang on a second, is some of the ideals behind what you want to do the most sensible thing for you to be doing? Now, I'm surmising that is an absolute fishing expedition on my part. It's a supposition, trying to work out why somebody would walk up to the finishing line and then pull back from it.
Yeah.
I hear lots of things. I hear highfalutin football agents that are in behind this deal. I hear ex-people from Man City that were behind this deal. I hear people like Jerry Cook were in the mix.
Who's that?
Well, he's the former chief executive of Man City.
Right.
And I hear Gary Cook, sorry, yeah. I hear a lot of different dynamics. You hear that Ashley's at the table, won't get involved until there's nobody else there.
Yeah.
Doesn't want to be involved in a bidding competition, wants to do the deal the way he wants to do it.
Would you do that if you were Ashley?
Yeah, I probably would.
Be the sole player in town.
Yeah, I probably would. And then you hear about Chris Kirchner doing a deal that wanted to delay the payment times, so he didn't want to close the deal out. He wanted to spread the payments, so he ended up paying 35p in a pound rather than 25p in a pound, so he could pay it over 3 years. And you think, what's that about? And they didn't want to buy the stadium, and probably sometimes the best time to buy the stadium is at the time that you purchase the football club, because if you get any kind of success, someone's going to leverage you when you try and buy the stadium.
Right.
So I had felt initially that he would do it, and I know he's got the money to do it. It's not a debate. He's proved up.
Right. So something's flicked a switch and he's gone.
Something's changed in his mind.
I mean, the administrators, does it call their performance here into question again? I know they're biting back a bit, saying certain sections of the media have been overcritical of us.
Yes, because
it's still not done yet.
Yeah, but some businesses can be in administration for quite a significant amount of time. Now, I'm not giving the administrators a pass, because they're going to charge sizable fees and their job is to deliver outcomes, right? But this is a very convoluted and complicated process involving secured creditors like Dell that have lent Mel Morris money, Mel Morris owning a stadium that's been stripped out of business, and the biggest ever administration sale. So these are all difficult factors, but their job is to deliver an outcome. Now, with that in mind, you can't make somebody complete. Now, in an ideal world, what you do is go, how much is this business? 32 million quid. Give me all that 32 million quid, right? And it's non-refundable. No one in their right mind would do that, right?
No,
so you're going to put somebody in a position where you get the most amount of money that you can, and use that as a non-refundable basis to index somebody to keep their feet to the fire, to drag them across the line.
Is that what happened when you bought Palace? You put in a certain amount,
at different time,
and then topped it up.
But different time. There was also a method that I think the EFL are not operating with the best interests of football at times, because what I mean by that is I think they should be changing the way they administer people in terms of getting them past fit and proper persons test. What should happen is buyers should approach the EFL first. We're shopping in this price range. So the EFL pre-approve people at a price range, and then they come back with a deal. So if Chris Kirchner goes to the EFL and says to the EFL, I'm shopping in a £30 million price bracket, and here's my cash flow funding to be able to indicate that, right, and he comes back with a football club for 70 million quid, then he's not pre-approved. If he comes back with a football club for 30 million quid, it's done. The administration from the EFL is done, and you start to take away some of that bureaucracy and start to fast-track the deal into a more succinct way of completing a situation. Because first of all, you've got to do a deal with the administrator, then you've got to run off and do a deal with the EFL and meet their criteria. And surely before you get to the stage where you're doing a deal to buy the business, you should be in a position where you know you can buy it and you haven't got to jump through hoops somewhere else.
So now that he's gone, Kirchner's gone, we know that. We tried him before we came on.
There are other people at the table.
There
are other people at the table.
There are other people at the table, but they're all Rosalie to Ashley. I've asked you that before.
And Derby are funded for a period of time. I do not believe, and I know that Derby... Whoever, right? That's not my gift to tell you who's funding it, right? Okay. But the bottom line is they are funded for a period of time. And no Derby fans will be going, oh, hang on a second, it moves and it bends. But that's how deals happen. That's how deals happen. Kirchner got himself into a preferred bidder status because he ticked the boxes. He showed the prerequisite amount of funds. And by the way, so did Eric Alonso. And Eric Alonso had more money than Chris Kirchner. And this narrative that Eric Alonso didn't have any money is nonsense. Okay. Because he did. But they didn't like the genesis of this money. And they didn't like some of the tax relationships he had overseas. Okay. And that's the reasons why Alonso's deal didn't go through. But I still maintain that Derby will not be liquidated. They will find a solution. And that solution may well be Ashley. Okay, and if it is, he wants to be the only show in town, and that's what he's holding out for, as we understand it. But Kirchner, we can confirm, has gone.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.